The ocean's vast expanse offers a serene and stress-relieving environment, simply by gazing at its beauty. Yet beneath this tranquil surface lies a world filled with hidden dangers. While sharks often capture our fears, many other sea creatures possess the ability to inflict serious injuries or even cause death. Join us as we share compelling stories of marine encounters, highlighting the unexpected perils lurking in the depths. Mark Wilson was a man of many talents and a respected engineer in underwater robotics. He worked in a research facility developing submersible drones for deep-sea exploration for years. His expertise lay in designing and testing the intricate systems that allowed these drones to navigate and map the ocean floor. Mark's fascination with the mysteries of the underwater world extended beyond his professional life. He was also an avid scuba diver, drawn to the serene yet dangerous beauty of the deep. His partner in these aquatic adventures was Lisa. An accomplished marine biologist, Lisa specialized in studying the unique ecosystems of river systems. Their shared passion for underwater exploration had forged a strong bond between them. With its labyrinthine network of submerged caves and diverse aquatic life, the Amazon River was a destination long on their bucket list. Lisa's recent discovery of a new cave system, teeming with life and largely unexplored, was the catalyst for their latest expedition. Months of meticulous planning have led to their journey to the heart of the Amazon. They studied maps and scientific papers, consulted with local experts, and ensured their equipment was in top condition. Mark spent countless hours fine-tuning their diving gear, ensuring every component was reliable. Their journey to the Amazon was a logistical feat, involving flights, boat trips, and overland treks through dense rainforest. They finally arrived at their base camp, a small clearing by the river, where they set up their equipment and reviewed their plans one last time. The following morning, with the sun barely peeking over the horizon, they donned their wetsuits and prepared to dive into the murky depths. The water was warm and teeming with life. Schools of brightly colored fish darted around them as they descended into the cave. The entrance to the caves was narrow, and Mark led the way, his powerful flashlight cutting through the gloom. Lisa followed closely, eyes scanning the surroundings for signs of the unique species she hoped to document. Mark's flashlight beam illuminated a particularly narrow passage as they ventured deeper. He signaled to Lisa to follow, and they squeezed through, their movements slow and deliberate. Unbeknownst to them, an electric eel lay hidden among the rocks, its presence masked by the shadows. Mark's hand brushed against a rock, startling the eel. In an instant, the eel discharged a powerful electric shock. Mark's body convulsed, and he felt an intense pain surge through him. His vision blurred, and he struggled to maintain his grip on reality. The shock left him disoriented and struggling to breathe. His movements became erratic, and he floated aimlessly, his mind racing to understand what had happened. Lisa, swimming a few feet behind, saw Mark's sudden convulsions. Her heart pounded as she realized something was wrong. She swam to him as quickly as she could, her mind focused on a single goal: getting Mark to safety. The cave's narrow passages and sharp turns made navigation difficult, but she kept her composure, knowing that panic would only worsen things. She reached Mark and saw the vacant look in his eyes. His breathing was labored, and his limbs seemed uncoordinated. Lisa took hold of him, wrapping her arm around his torso. She checked his equipment, ensuring his regulator was still in place and his air supply was functioning. Satisfied that he could still breathe, she guided him back through the treacherous cave system. The return journey was fraught with danger. Lisa had to navigate the narrow passages while supporting Mark's weight, which required all her strength and concentration. The cave's twists and turns, which had seemed so fascinating on their way in, now felt like an endless maze. She fought to maintain a steady pace, knowing that every second counted. Mark's condition was precarious. The shock had left him weak and disoriented, and he struggled to keep his focus. His breathing was shallow, and he felt a growing sense of panic. He knew that Lisa was their only hope, and he tried to stay calm and trust in her ability to get them out. His vision was still blurred, and he could only faintly make out the beam of Lisa's flashlight leading the way. Lisa's mind raced as she navigated the cave. She constantly checked her dive computers, monitoring their depth and air supply. She knew they had limited time before Mark's air ran out, and the pressure of the situation weighed heavily on her. She used the landmarks she had memorized during their descent to guide her, ensuring they stayed on the right path. After what felt like an eternity, they finally reached the broader part of the cave. Lisa knew they were close to the entrance. She could see the faint glow of daylight filtering through the water ahead. Her arms ached from the effort of supporting Mark, but she didn't slow down. The sight of the exit spurred her on, and she swam with renewed determination. As they emerged from the cave, the murky waters of the Amazon surrounded them once more. Lisa saw the sun shining, a welcome sight after the cave's darkness. She signaled to Mark to ascend, and together they began the slow, controlled rise to the surface. Breaking through the surface, Lisa gasped for air. She helped Mark remove his regulator, and he took deep, grateful breaths. They floated on their backs, the river's gentle current carrying them. Mark's vision cleared, and he looked at Lisa, his gratitude evident. She gave him a reassuring nod, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The ordeal had taken its toll, but they were alive. Lisa guided them back to their base camp, where they clambered onto the shore, exhausted but safe. They collapsed onto the ground, the weight of their experience settling over them. Mark's breathing gradually steadied, and he began to feel the reality of their narrow escape. They spent the next few hours recuperating, checking their equipment, and discussing what had happened. The encounter with the electric eel had been a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in the depths. Mark knew he had been fortunate to have Lisa by his side. If not, that would have been the end of him. And the scary part is that his remains may not be found. Their Amazon expedition was cut short, but they had no regrets. The experience deepened their bond and reinforced their respect for the power and unpredictability of nature. As they packed their gear and prepared for the journey home, they reflected on the beauty and danger they had witnessed. The river had tested them, revealing both their vulnerabilities and their strengths. The open waters off the coast of Australia were exceptionally calm that morning, the horizon a seamless blend of ocean and sky. A group of seasoned fishermen was busy hauling their day's catch, targeting kingfish that thrived in these nutrient-rich waters. They had been at sea since dawn, their boat swaying gently as they cast their lines into the depths. Their small vessel, sturdy yet modest, had seen many such excursions. The men worked in a rhythm that spoke of years of experience, each knowing their role without needing words. The sun was now climbing higher, promising a hot day ahead, but the men were focused on the task, anticipating a bountiful catch. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered. One of the rods bent sharply, the line whizzing out at an alarming speed. This was no kingfish. The men exchanged quick, knowing glances. Something much more significant had taken the bait. One of the fishermen grabbed the rod, muscles straining as he tried to reel in the unseen giant. The boat's engine hummed as they adjusted their position, the others ready to assist. Without warning, the water erupted. A massive form shot out of the ocean and soared through the air, its sleek silver-blue body glistening in the sunlight. It was a short-fin mako shark, renowned as the fastest shark in the world, capable of reaching speeds up to 46 miles per hour. The sheer power and speed of its leap left the men momentarily stunned. In a spectacular yet terrifying display, the shark landed on the deck with a thunderous crash. Chaos ensued. The thrashing shark, driven by panic and instinct, began to attack anything in its path. Its razor-sharp teeth and powerful tail transformed the boat into a scene of utter chaos. The fishermen were caught off guard and scrambled to avoid the furious predator. Their once orderly vessel was now a battleground. One man was knocked off his feet by the shark's tail, crashing into the side of the boat. Another tried to grab a harpoon, but the shark's unpredictable movements made it difficult to get close. The deck was slick with seawater, making every step treacherous. They shouted to each other, their voices barely audible over the splashing water and the turmoil of the fierce struggle. Desperation took hold. They needed to subdue the shark before it caused more harm. One of the fishermen threw a heavy net over the shark, momentarily entangling it. But the mako's strength was formidable, and it fought fiercely, tearing through the net like paper. The men regrouped, grabbing whatever tools they could find, oars, hooks, and even a spare anchor. They struck at the shark in a coordinated effort, aiming to disable its lethal mouth and powerful tail. The battle was grueling, and each attempt was met with violent thrashes threatening to overturn the boat. The shark's dark and unblinking eyes seemed to glimmer with a primal rage. Time seemed to stretch on forever. Fueled by adrenaline and the instinct to survive, the men pressed on. Finally, their efforts paid off. Though it felt like hours, only minutes had passed. The shark's movements began to slow, its thrashes less frequent. With a final unified effort, they delivered the decisive blow. The shark lay still. The men, panting and exhausted, looked at each other in relief and disbelief. Their small vessel was now a scene of carnage, blood and seawater pooling on the deck. Injuries were assessed. One man had a deep gash on his leg and another sported a nasty cut across his arm. The reality of their ordeal began to sink in. Despite the market value of the mako shark, the fishermen made a pragmatic decision. The injuries they had sustained and the sheer exhaustion from the battle left them in no condition to handle the logistics of selling the shark. Instead, they chose to divide the fish amongst themselves, viewing it as a hard-earned reward for their survival. After the shark was dealt with, they sailed back to shore, unable to continue. The mako shark's attack had transformed a routine fishing trip into a harrowing fight for survival. The Florida Everglades, a sprawling, verdant expanse of subtropical wetlands, was known for its rich biodiversity and mesmerizing scenery. Visitors worldwide flocked to this natural wonder, eager to experience its unique ecosystem. On this particular day, a group of tourists had gathered for an airboat tour, their excitement palpable as they boarded the flat-bottomed vessel. The airboat, designed for navigating shallow waters and dense vegetation, was an ideal way to explore the Everglades. The diverse group consisted of families, couples, and solo travelers. Among them was Rachel, a young woman who had always been fascinated by nature. She had traveled from the Midwest, eager to immerse herself in the wild beauty of the Everglades. As the airboat skimmed across the water, the guide, an experienced and knowledgeable naturalist, pointed out various species of birds and plants, sharing anecdotes and facts that brought the landscape to life. The tour progressed smoothly at first. The airboat's powerful engine quickly propelled it through the narrow channels and vast open marshes. The tourists marveled at the vibrant green sawgrass, the majestic cypress trees, and the abundant wildlife. About halfway through the tour, the guide steered the boat into a particularly dense area of reeds. The water was shallower here, and the vegetation thicker. The airboat slowed as the engine labored against the resistance of the reeds. The guide explained that this area was known for its rich biodiversity and was a favorite spot for viewing the elusive Everglades wildlife. The tourists eagerly leaned over the sides, cameras ready, hoping to capture a glimpse of something extraordinary. Suddenly, the boat lurched to a stop. The engine sputtered and died, leaving the group in an eerie silence. The tourists exchanged uneasy glances, and the guide quickly assessed the situation. The boat seemed entangled in the dense reeds, its propeller choked by the vegetation. The guide assured the group they would be coming soon and began working to free the boat. As the guide toiled, the tourists took the opportunity to absorb their surroundings. The stillness of the swamp was both beautiful and unsettling. The occasional rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds were the only sounds that broke the silence. Enthralled by the scenery, Rachel leaned over the side of the boat, peering into the murky water below. She was captivated by the sight of fish darting among the roots and the subtle movements of the water plants swaying in the current. Without warning, a giant, aggressive crocodile emerged from the reeds. The tourists gasped in shock, their excitement turning to fear. The crocodile's cold, unblinking eyes were fixed on the boat, its mighty jaws slightly agape. Sensing the imminent danger, the guide tried to calm the group while working frantically to free the ship. Before anyone could react, the crocodile lunged at the boat. Rachel lost her balance in the chaos and was pulled into the water. The tourists screamed in terror as the crocodile closed in on her. Rachel's mind raced as she struggled to stay afloat, the weight of her wet clothes dragging her down. The murky water was disorienting, and she could feel the crocodile's presence around her. Before the guide shouted for the tourists to help, they sprang into action, using whatever they could find to fend off the predator. One man grabbed an oar placed in the airboat and swung it at the crocodile, trying to create a barrier between it and Rachel. Another woman threw a life preserver into the water, hoping Rachel could grab it. The crocodile, undeterred by their efforts, continued moving towards her. Rachel's heart pounded as she struggled to swim toward the boat. She could feel the crocodile's powerful body brushing against her legs, and she kicked frantically, desperate to escape its grasp. The water churned around her, a maelstrom of panic and fear. Rachel reached for the life preserver, her fingers brushing against the rope as she fought to stay above water. The crocodile surged forward, its jaws snapping dangerously close to her legs. The man with the oar swung again, striking the crocodile's snout and causing it to recoil. With a final desperate push, Rachel grabbed the life preserver. The tourists pulled with all their strength, their collective effort inching her closer to the boat. Enraged by its prey's escape, the crocodile thrashed in the water, its powerful tail churning the surface into a foam. The guide shouted encouragement, his voice hoarse with urgency. Rachel felt hands grasp her arms and pull her up, her body finally breaking free of the water's grip. She was dragged onto the boat, her chest heaving with exhaustion and fear. The tourists quickly pulled her to the vessel's center, putting as much distance between her and the edge as possible. The crocodile, thwarted, circled the boat menacingly before retreating into the reeds, its eyes still watching them from the shadows. The guide, sweating and breathless, immediately checked Rachel for injuries. Miraculously, she had escaped with only a few scrapes and bruises. The tourists, still shaken, offered her water and words of comfort, their relief palpable. The guide restarted the engine and resumed trying to free the boat, knowing they needed to leave the area as quickly as possible. After an eternity, the airboat finally broke free of the reeds. The engine roared to life and the guide steered them back toward the safety of the main channels. The tourists clung to the boat's sides, their eyes scanning the water for any sign of the crocodile. The journey back to the dock was tense and silent, the group's earlier excitement replaced by a collective sense of relief and exhaustion. As they approached the dock, the guide radioed ahead to alert the authorities of the incident. A team was waiting to assist them, helping Rachel and the other tourists disembark and ensuring they received medical attention. The tourists, still processing the harrowing experience, were grateful for the swift response and the guide's expertise. Rachel, wrapped in a blanket and sipping a cup of hot tea, reflected on the terrifying encounter. She had come to the Everglades seeking adventure and had found it most unexpectedly and frighteningly. The Robinson family, hailing from California, had always harbored a deep love for the ocean. Richard and Emily, the parents, were avid nature enthusiasts who often took their children on outdoor adventures. Their teenage son, Ethan, shared his parents' passion, while their younger daughter, Lily, was beginning to discover the wonders of the natural world. For their summer vacation, they had decided to embark on a whale-watching trip off the coast of British Columbia, hoping to witness the majestic orcas in their natural habitat. The family arrived in British Columbia with great anticipation. The region's rugged beauty and abundant wildlife had drawn them in, and they were eager to experience its wonders. They boarded a small, sturdy vessel designed for whale-watching tours, joining a few other enthusiasts who shared their excitement. The tour operator assured them of a thrilling experience, given the frequent sightings of orcas in the area. The day was perfect for a sea voyage. The sky was clear and the sun warmed over the calm blue waters. The vessel set out from the harbor, cutting through the gentle waves as it headed toward the open sea. The family gathered at the bow, scanning the horizon for any sign of the orcas. They had read extensively about these magnificent creatures, known for their intelligence, social behavior, and striking black and white markings. As the boat ventured further from the shore, the anticipation grew. The guide provided fascinating insights into the lives of orcas, their hunting techniques, and their complex social structures. The family listened intently, their eyes constantly roving over the water, hoping for a glimpse of the whales. Suddenly, someone pointed toward the horizon. A series of black fins sliced through the water, a pod of orcas moving gracefully in unison. The excitement on the boat was palpable. Cameras were raised and gasps of awe filled the air as the whales drew closer. The guide slowed the vessel, allowing the pod to approach. The orcas seemed curious, their sleek bodies gliding effortlessly through the water. For the Robinsons, it was a dream come true. They watched in wonder as the orcas surfaced, exhaled powerful spouts of mist, and dove gracefully back into the depths. Ethan was particularly enthralled. He captured every moment on his camera as evidence for his classmates. The pod circled the boat, their movements mesmerizing. The guide explained that the orcas were likely hunting, and the ship was fortunate to witness their natural behavior up close. However, the mood shifted dramatically when one orca broke away from the pod. It approached the boat with an unusual intensity, its movements deliberate and aggressive. The guide, noticing the behavior change, urged everyone to remain calm and still. The orca circled the vessel, its dorsal fin cutting through the water like a blade. Tension hung in the air as everyone watched, unsure what to expect. Without warning, the orca rammed the side of the boat with tremendous force. The vessel rocked violently, throwing passengers off balance. Gasps of fear replaced the earlier expressions of awe. Richard instinctively reached for Lily, pulling her close to protect her from the sudden jolt. Ethan grabbed onto the railing, his camera momentarily forgotten. The orca struck again, this time with even greater force. The boat tilted dangerously, water splashing over the sides. The guide quickly assessed the situation, his calm demeanor belying the moment's urgency. He instructed everyone to move to the boat's center to stabilize it and prevent it from capsizing. Emily, her face pale with fear, helped Lily to the vessel's center while Richard and Ethan did the same. The other passengers followed suit, their expressions a mix of shock and terror. The guide moved to the helm, attempting to steer the boat away from the aggressive orca. But the whale was relentless, continuing its assault with a single-minded determination. The orca's behavior was highly unusual. Known for their intelligence and often playful interactions with boats, this display of aggression was out of character. The guide speculated that the whale might protect a calf or respond to unseen threats. Regardless of the reason, the immediate priority was to ensure the safety of everyone on board. Richard took charge of the situation based on his experience from countless water outings. He organized the passengers, ensuring they were all holding onto something stable. He and Emily kept a tight grip on their children, their faces set with determination. The boat continued to rock violently with each impact. The orca's powerful body could generate immense force, and the vessel was beginning to show signs of strain. Cracks appeared in the hull, and water started to seep in. The guide radioed for help, his voice calm but urgent as he relayed their coordinates and the nature of the emergency. As the minutes dragged on, the situation grew increasingly dire. The orca showed no signs of relenting, its attacks coming with unerring precision. The boat's structure was compromised, and the threat of capsizing loomed more significantly. The family clung to each other, their thoughts a chaotic mix of fear and hope. They knew they had to stay calm and work together to survive. Emily focused on keeping Lily calm, whispering reassurances and holding her close. The little girl, though frightened, trusted her mother completely. The other passengers huddled together, their collective fear creating a bond of solidarity. They shared life vests and reassured one another, drawing strength from their shared ordeal. The orca struck again, and this time the impact was devastating. A large section of the hull gave way and water began to pour in. The boat was listed dangerously, and the threat of capsizing was now imminent. The guide made a split-second decision, instructing everyone to don life vests and prepare to abandon the vessel if necessary. Richard and Emily ensured that Ethan and Lily were securely fastened into their vests before donning their own. The other passengers did the same. Their movements were frantic but purposeful. The guide deployed the life rafts, preparing for the worst. The boat, now barely afloat, was on the brink of disaster. Just as hope seemed lost, the sound of another boat's engine reached their ears. Responding to the guide's distress call, a rescue vessel appeared on the horizon. Relief washed over the passengers, their fear momentarily giving way to hope. The guide signaled the rescue boat, urging them to hurry. The orca, perhaps sensing the arrival of reinforcements, ceased its attacks and retreated into the depths. The rescue boat pulled alongside the stricken vessel, and the crew quickly helped the passengers aboard. The transfer was chaotic but efficient, with everyone working together to ensure a safe evacuation. Once aboard the rescue vessel, the passengers breathed a sigh of relief. The guide, now able to relax, thanked the rescuers profusely. The family, though shaken, was unharmed. Richard and Emily held their children close, grateful for their safety. Despite the terror of the ordeal, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the power of the orca. The rescue vessel returned to the harbor, and the passengers silently huddled. The once joyous whale-watching trip had turned into a harrowing fight for survival, a stark reminder of wildlife's unpredictability. The family reflected on the experience, their emotions a complex mix of fear, relief, and respect for the ocean's formidable inhabitants. Back on land, the passengers were met by medical personnel and authorities, who ensured that everyone was unharmed and took statements about the incident. The guide, ever the professional, provided a detailed account of the orca's unusual behavior and the measures taken to ensure the safety of the passengers. Richard and Emily, though exhausted, expressed their gratitude to the rescuers and the guide. They knew the outcome could have been far worse without the guide's quick thinking and bravery. The family returned to their hotel and spent a quiet evening reflecting on the day's events. In the following days, the story of the orca's attack made headlines, capturing the attention of the local community and wildlife experts. Speculations about the whale's behavior abounded, with some suggesting it was an isolated incident, while others considered broader implications for human interactions with marine life. The North Atlantic was a realm of vast, uncharted mysteries where the ocean's depths concealed creatures. On a crisp, clear morning, a deep-sea research vessel embarked on an expedition to study marine life in these dark waters. The crew, a dedicated team of marine biologists, oceanographers, and engineers, had spent years preparing for this mission. Armed with cutting-edge technology, they were ready to explore the ocean's secrets and gather invaluable data. The vessel was equipped with a state-of-the-art submersible designed to withstand the crushing pressures of the deep sea. This small, agile craft allowed the team to venture into areas previously inaccessible to humans. Inside the submersible, a trio of scientists prepared for the descent. Dr. Ann Summers, a seasoned marine biologist with a particular interest in cephalopods. Dr. Mark Hamilton, an oceanographer focused on deep-sea currents and ecosystems. And Sarah Reed, an experienced submersible pilot who had navigated some of the world's most treacherous waters. As the submersible detached from the vessel and began its descent, the crew members aboard the research ship monitored their progress closely. The water grew darker and colder as the submersible sank more profoundly, the surface sunlight fading into an inky blackness. The craft's powerful lights illuminated the surrounding water, revealing an otherworldly landscape of bioluminescent creatures and ancient alien structures on the ocean floor. The primary objective of this mission was to study the elusive and mysterious giant squid, a creature that had fascinated scientists and captivated imaginations for centuries. Few had ever seen one alive, and even fewer had been able to study it in its natural habitat. The crew hoped to change that, aiming to gather data that would deepen our understanding of these enigmatic giants. As the submersible neared its target depth, the scientists marveled at the eerie beauty of the deep-sea environment. Strange, translucent fish with glowing eyes drifted past, while delicate, ethereal jellyfish pulsed gently in the currents. The seafloor was a landscape of towering hydrothermal vents and sprawling fields of manganese nodules, a testament to the ocean's geological and biological diversity. Suddenly, the submersible's sensors picked up a large, moving object. The crew's hearts raced as the monitors displayed the unmistakable shape of a giant squid. The submersible's lights illuminated its massive body and long, twisted tentacles, revealing a magnificent and terrifying creature. Dr. Summers carefully documented the sighting, her excitement tempered by the knowledge that they were intruding on the squid's domain. The giant squid, initially curious, soon became agitated by the presence of the submersible. Its movements grew more erratic, thrashing its tentacles in the water. The scientists watched in awe and apprehension as the creature's massive eyes, each as large as a dinner plate, fixed on the submersible. The squid's chromatophores pulsed with changing colors, a possible sign of distress or aggression. Without warning, the squid lunged at the submersible, its tentacles, lined with powerful suction cups and sharp chitinous rings, wrapped around the craft with astonishing speed and strength. The submersible shuddered under the sudden attack, its lights flickering as the creature tightened its grip. The crew inside the submersible felt a surge of adrenaline as they quickly assessed the situation. While monitoring the submersible systems, Dr. Hamilton reported a spike in external pressure as the squid tried to drag the craft deeper into the abyss. Sarah Reed, her hands steady on the controls, attempted to maneuver the submersible free from the squid's grasp. The vessel's thrusters roared to life, pushing against the creature's immense strength. But the squid was relentless, its tentacles tightening with every second. On the surface, the research vessel's crew watched the drama unfold on their monitors. They could see the submersible struggle against the giant squid, its powerful thrusters straining to break free. The situation was dire, and the vessel's captain quickly coordinated efforts to assist the submersible. They deployed a remote-operated vehicle, ROV, equipped with cameras and tools, hoping to help disentangle the squid's grip. Inside the submersible, the scientists remained focused and composed. Despite the gravity of the situation, Dr. Summers continued to document the encounter, her scientific curiosity undiminished. Dr. Hamilton worked to reroute power to the submersible's thrusters, while Sarah Reed deftly navigated the craft, trying to outmaneuver the squid's tenacious hold. Sensing the resistance, the squid redoubled its efforts to pull the submersible deeper. The pressure outside the craft increased alarmingly, the hull groaning under the strain. The scientists knew they were nearing the submersible's operational limits, and time was running out. Now in position, the ROV began to work on the squid's tentacles, using a combination of lights, sound, and gentle prodding to encourage the creature to release its hold. The squid's reaction was immediate. It recoiled from the ROV, momentarily loosening its grip on the submersible. Seizing the opportunity, Sarah Reed pushed the thrusters to their maximum, propelling the submersible upward with all the power it could muster. The scientists held their breath as the craft surged toward the surface, the squid's tentacles trailing behind like serpentine shadows. The ascent was rapid but fraught with tension. The submersible system strained under the increased load, and the threat of the squid's return loomed large. Dr. Hamilton monitored the hull's integrity and was ready to take emergency measures. Dr. Summers closely watched the squid for any signs of renewed aggression. As the submersible climbed toward the surface, the pressure outside decreased. The squid, perhaps disoriented by the rapid change in depth, released its hold entirely and retreated into the darkness. The crew exhaled in relief, but knew they were not yet out of danger. The submersible systems needed immediate attention, and the ascent had to be controlled to prevent decompression issues. On the surface, the research vessel's crew cheered as the submersible broke through the waves, dented but intact. The scientists inside were exhausted but elated, their ordeal a testament to their resilience and teamwork. The submersible was carefully hoisted back onto the deck, where engineers immediately began assessing the damage. The trio emerged from the submersible, greeted by their relieved colleagues. The crew prioritized ensuring everyone's safety and conducting a thorough debrief. The data collected during the encounter with the giant squid was invaluable, providing unprecedented insights into the behavior and physiology of these elusive creatures. As the scientists reviewed the footage and data, they reflected on the challenges and dangers of deep-sea exploration. The encounter with the giant squid highlighted the unpredictable nature of the ocean's depths, where even the most advanced technology and expertise could be tested to their limits. The team's success in fending off the squid and preventing the submersible from being dragged into the abyss was a testament to their preparation, knowledge, and quick thinking. The Caribbean sun shone brightly over the clear azure waters as a group of friends prepared for an exciting day of recreational diving. The air buzzed with anticipation and camaraderie. Among them was Mike, an experienced diver known for his enthusiasm and love of underwater exploration. His friends Mara, Jake, and Amelia shared his passion for diving, and they had all been looking forward to this trip for months. Their destination was a famous shipwreck, a relic of the past now serving as an underwater haven for marine life. Mike had recently invested in new, shiny dive equipment, which he was eager to try. The gear gleamed in the sunlight as the group finalized their preparations on the dive boat. The crew provided a thorough briefing detailing the dive plan and safety protocols. Everyone was confident and excited, ready to plunge into the warm, inviting waters. With their equipment checked and double-checked, the friends slipped into the water, their descent into the blue depths beginning smoothly. The ocean was teeming with life, with colorful fish darting about and coral formations providing a vibrant backdrop. As they approached the shipwreck, the ghostly outline of the sunken vessel came into view, its structure now home to a myriad of marine creatures. The group navigated through the wreck, marveling at the intricate interplay of history and nature. Rusted metal and encrusted artifacts told tales of the ship's past, while schools of fish wove through the open spaces. Mike, with his new equipment shimmering in the filtered sunlight, took point, his enthusiasm evident in his gestures and the way he explored every nook and cranny. As they ventured deeper into the wreck, an unexpected presence became known. A large barracuda, drawn by the reflections from Mike's shiny gear, began to circle the group. Barracudas are known for their curiosity and can be aggressive, especially when provoked or attracted by something unusual. The fish's sleek silver body glinted menacingly as it moved closer, its sharp teeth visible in the dim light. Unaware of the impending danger, Mike continued exploring, his friends trailing behind. Suddenly, the barracuda lunged at Mike with alarming speed. Its powerful jaws clamped down on his arm, the sharp teeth cutting through the dive suit and into flesh. The water clouded with blood, and his regulator muffled Mike's scream of pain. His friends reacted instantly, their hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. Mara, the closest to Mike, reached him first, her eyes wide with shock as she saw the severity of his injuries. She signaled to Jake and Amelia, who quickly moved to assist. The barracuda, its curiosity satisfied, darted away, leaving Mike in excruciating pain and bleeding profusely. The group had to act fast. They were deep within the wreck, and getting Mike to the surface for medical attention was now a race against time. Mara took charge, her training and instincts kicking in. She quickly assessed Mike's condition, noting the deep gashes and the severity of the bleeding. With hand signals, she directed Jake to support Mike's injured arm, while Amelia prepared to lead the way out of the wreck. The ship's narrow passageways and sharp edges posed additional dangers, making their task even more challenging. The group began their ascent carefully, navigating through the twisted metal and debris. Each movement was deliberate and cautious, as they knew any sudden jolt could worsen Mike's injuries. The once fascinating wreck now felt like a treacherous maze, every turn fraught with potential hazards. The ascent was slow and agonizing. Mike's breathing was labored, his face pale from pain and blood loss. Mara watched him closely, offering as much comfort and reassurance as possible through her eyes and gestures. Jake, holding onto Mike's arm, tried to stem the bleeding with his other hand. But the water made it difficult. Amelia led the way, focusing on finding the quickest route to the surface while avoiding any obstacles. The wreck seemed to stretch endlessly, each corridor and room blending into the next. Time felt distorted, each second dragging on as they struggled to progress. Finally, they reached the edge of the wreck. The open water was both a relief and a new challenge, as they now had to ascend carefully to avoid decompression sickness. The group began their controlled ascent, pausing at intervals to allow their bodies to adjust to the changing pressure. The surface seemed tantalizingly close yet agonizingly far. Mara constantly watched Mike's condition, her concern growing as his consciousness wavered. The bleeding, though somewhat controlled, was still severe. She knew they had to reach the surface quickly if he was to have any chance of survival. Her mind raced with thoughts of the medical treatment he would need and the urgency of their situation. As they neared the surface, the crew on the dive boat spotted them and sprang into action. The friends broke through the water, gasping for air and signaling for immediate assistance. The crew quickly hauled Mike aboard, their faces reflecting the seriousness of the situation. They brought out a first aid kit and began administering emergency care, doing everything possible to stabilize him. The boat's captain radioed for help, alerting the nearest medical facility of their emergency. Upon reaching the dock, an ambulance was waiting, paramedics ready to take over. Mike was quickly transferred to a stretcher, his friends' voices a blur of reassurances and urgent information. The paramedics worked swiftly, stabilizing Mike and preparing him for transport to the hospital. As the ambulance sped away, the friends were left standing on the dock, their bodies and minds numb from the ordeal. The events of the dive replayed in their minds, the terror and helplessness they had felt still fresh. They hugged each other tightly, drawing comfort from their shared experience and the knowledge that they had done everything possible to help Mike. Hours later, the friends received updates on Mike's condition at the hospital. He was in surgery, and doctors were working to repair the damage and stop the bleeding. The wait was agonizing, every passing minute filled with hope and fear. They clung to each other, their bond strengthened by the ordeal they had faced together. The doctors emerged with cautious optimism. Mike had lost a lot of blood, and his injuries were severe, but he had survived the surgery. The road to recovery would be long and challenging, but he was expected to make it through.